Hey, good afternoon. Stephen Halstead with Oasis Senior Advisors, back here with our Oasis Care Network, our video series where we're talking with our partners that we out in the community that help seniors, anyone 55 plus, well, that need help that get to us, and we refer and we help families figure out what they need for their loved one. Everybody knows what I do, but we don't know what you do. Today, I have Dennis Szafran, elder law attorney, and his marketing assistant, Christine Fletcher. And Dennis, Christine, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having us. It's our pleasure.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Christine, I've seen you, your pretty face around town. Dennis, we haven't seen so much of you. Tell us who you are and a little bit about your background, what you do.
Sure. First off, I always love to tell people I'm a Navy veteran, so we love helping our vets. And it's been my pleasure to be a vet. But we have our firm in West Chase area. We cover the whole state of Florida. We specialize in elder law, so Medicaid, VA benefits, estate planning, probate, trust administration, guardianship. We have a litigation team that can handle either contested guardianships or probate cases. We have a real estate team that handles transactions and as well as litigation. And we also have a bankruptcy team in place. So we've kind of expanded our realm to help the senior community with almost every area that they could potentially need in this.
That's awesome. When we're talking with clients on the phones, a lot of times they just don't even know what direction to go in. And I start asking questions about what they have in place as far as estate planning and power of attorney. A lot of people just are so foreign to this, and it's good to know. I'm glad you said that you work in the whole state of Florida. That's amazing, because Oasis is all over the country, but we work in the whole state. And so I'm sometimes working with a family from another part of the state, but they have a loved one here. So that's really, really good. So let's just start off with the most important question. There's two really important questions I get mostly from families, but the one is, why estate planning? Why is it important to have estate planning? And I'm going to ask you, how is that so important now that we're in this pandemic, this healthcare crisis?
I'll start out with the pandemic aspect of it. There is so much uncertainty as to what's going on and who can contract this virus and who is at a risk of losing their life to it. So I'm from the Northeast. I have a lot of friends that we've lost up there to this pandemic that were some were 50s, 40s and up. Mm-hmm. And you just don't know what's coming. So it's really good to have things in place. I also have had friends that were placed on ventilators for 30 plus days, and without certain documents in place, power of attorney, healthcare surrogate, living will, there's not much your family can do as far as decision making to help while you're in the hospital. And I even tell to my clients, like, if you're in the hospital for a few days for a minor procedure, if somebody needs to pay your bills, the company is not going to speak to them and tell you how much the bill is. So without that power of attorney, it makes it very difficult. So beyond the COVID, the estate planning is very important because Florida's probate process is brutal.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's I always tell families, it's a big puzzle. And the families have pieces of the puzzle in place, but there's those missing pieces. And that's what I help them find by getting them to people like yourself. And right. Christine, I know when you're out marketing, I know right now marketing is hard for people like you and I, because we've got to be safe and places are closed. But I'm sure these are questions that you're hearing from people all the time. Do you find that most people aren't really prepared?
Definitely the preparedness. I'm seeing a lot of, case in point today, I talked a gentleman through, we're going to go ahead and make sure we make things happen, regardless of COVID or not. Leave in your mailbox. I'll leave my documents in the mailbox. I said, and we'll just exchange it from there. It's just a lot about preparation and making sure that, we set each other up for success and we don't put anyone out for that compromise.
Oh, I love that. That's your motto. Put that on a business card. I love that. So tell me a little bit about protecting your assets. Sure. That's a big concern that people have. They're just like, oh, do we sell the house? Do we not sell the house? Blah, blah, blah. So anyway, you talk about that.
Yeah, so from the probate aspect, you're looking at thousands in attorney fees, months lingering, getting access to bank accounts or homes. With the estate plan, our goal, we have twofold. It's a twofold goal. One is to ensure that the estate stays out of probate, We have obviously revocable trust and other mechanisms we can use, lower cost. And second is to make sure things go where they need to go. We take up on about 50 to 60 probate cases a month. The biggest misconception people have is that I have a will, it's going to stay out of probate.
Yeah.
Not the case.
Right.
You have titles to your home, titles to bank accounts that need to be transferred after you pass away if they're left in your name only. So really what we need to do is use revocable trust to hold the assets. You still retain full ownership of those assets during your lifetime, but when you pass away, they automatically transfer to where they need to go without dealing with probate. On a lower cost spectrum, like we do have clients that just cannot afford to spend a few $1,000s on a trust, there's a ladybird deed. Simple mechanism you can use for your house. You retain full ownership of the house, but for $350, you'll be able to protect that house from probate and the thousands that probate could cost.
Wow. That's important information to know. I mean, again, it's putting that puzzle together, and people just don't understand how all that works. Same thing with paying for, people think, I've got to spend all my money just to go into assisted living, or let's not even think about that. Let's talk about having home health care. Yeah, there's a private pay, most of that is private pay, but there are benefits out there. And one of the first questions I also ask families is your family member we're speaking of a veteran like yourself, or the surviving spouse of a veteran? Because a lot of these people do not understand that there's benefits available through aid and attendance. How does that work? I mean, how do families, one, get that, and what does it pay for?
So, I mean, I'll talk about the one aspect of it, like Christine touched on as well, but one thing is you need to have 1 day of wartime active duty service. So if they're active duty during wartime, we can get them qualified for aid and attendance. Awesome. There are financial aspects too. I mean, the net worth max is 129,000 or so. So there's all these other aspects we pull it together to see if they do qualify. Usually we do it in conjunction with Medicaid. So we try to do Medicaid first, and then get them on aid and attendance. Christine, do you want to touch on this as well a little bit?
Most definitely. So yeah, the VA aid and attendance, there's also the VA disability aspect of it. You can't have VA disability and the aid and attendance.
Right.
Well, so you have to look at the aspect of which one is more beneficial to our loved one or to the loved one. Aid and attendance going to be there and be more, it can be more beneficial than a regular veteran disability benefit. It all ties into, basically, am I going to go down the Medicaid route and, and see what's the best option for it. We also have to look at doing, a trust account if, they're going to go ahead and qualify for the VA aid and attendance, because the last thing you want to do if they are on Medicaid is, it goes back to the date of the original application. Application period was roughly about 125 days at this point. So do you want we need to go ahead and put in the funds into a trust. That way it doesn't give them too many assets. So then now they're bumped off of Medicaid, and then we're doing their Medicaid process all over again.
It's so confusing. And what about, families? I always tell them the best advice is, apply. If you think you're available, call someone and find out if you're available for VA benefits. And if so, get it in now. Is it retroactive for the VA benefits?
It is retroactive from the date of application. The other aspect is, the veteran himself may not need the care, but his wife may need it.
There you go.
And so going ahead and saying, okay, we're planning for the wife to have this benefit because she needs it. I'm at home, or I may be in independent living and she still needs home health care.
Right.
So go ahead and get that aid and attendance benefit applied for.
Really good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. I think the VA benefits is something that's underused. I'm just going by the number of people that I speak to that say, oh yeah, I'm a veteran, but I can't get it. Oh, why do you think you can't get it? And there's just a lot of misunderstanding, I think.
There is. And luckily last year they gave us some additional understandings, because previously National Guard wasn't covered under, you had the WASP, the women's, they were not covered. So there were a lot of, the the Marine merchant or merchant Marines, they were not covered for quite some time. So now, you know, the VA has lumped them in as long as they have that 90 days of active duty. They only have to have 1 day, but during 90 days of active wartime. So that's kind of where it really, you know, benefits, you know, the
Fantastic.
ever-changing VA system.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people steer clear of it too because of potential confusion with the VA and is the VA going to accept this? And so I know that a lot of our clients are scared of it.
Look, my father was a Marine, and he just passed away this past January, but we had moved my family down from West Virginia, and we applied, and my dad's like, well, I'm not going to get VA benefits. I didn't do anything. And we're like, what do you mean you didn't do anything? You know, didn't you go to the basic training? Didn't you serve? And so he just had this, he never ever went to a VA hospital or used any of the benefits. And so, you know, I think sometimes it just falls through the cracks, and
Yeah.
I think it's important that
They're not broadcasting it either.
correct. And then so we did all of that and was able to get all this stuff done. So I've been through what you're talking about. So I kind of understand it, but I am not the expert. That's what you guys are here for. And the whole idea is for me to educate people and help them get to the information that they need. Medicaid's a big one in Florida. I've got people who want to retire to Florida from another state, and they can get better, it seems, better benefits, Medicaid benefits, in a different state than they can in Florida when it comes to assisted living. I'm not real savvy on all that. So what does Medicaid pay for when it comes to assisted living in Florida?
Medicaid will cover the medical portion, and the patient is responsible for the room and board, essentially.
So you've got your cost of the room and all the amenities and everything that comes with that, and then you've got your cost of care. So Medicaid covers the cost of care, but there's still that, you still got to cover that other portion that's left, right?
Correct.
And that may have to be your assets, whether it be a pension or savings or whatever the case may be.
And each community's contract is different.
Completely different.
Not one has the same identical contract. They negotiate their contracts with Medicaid individually.
That's right.
So what may be only your pension and Social Security, your annuities, you know, award letter, one may accept. Another one may say, I'm sorry, you know, our room and board rate is $4,000, and so you still have to come up with the $4,000. So it really is making sure that, you know, you ask those questions going into assisted living and picking the right one based on, you know, your individual needs,
right? But
also doing what we can do so far in advance and really working as a team to prepare for the Medicaid planning.
And that is a big misconception because people assume when I talk to them that every assisted living takes Medicaid, you know, and it's like, well, it depends. Like you said, it really depends on the community. So I have to be somewhat savvy about which communities are taking what. But most of the communities are private pay, you know. But there are communities specifically for people with Medicaid. So, and then you have long-term care as well. So.
And we don't want anyone to, you know, ultimately spend all of their money down because, you know, there is a time length process, you know, to it. There's no magic number of how long it takes to be approved. Medicaid is always accepting applications, but we don't want someone to spend down all of their money and then where do I go from here?
Good point.
And so it's definitely making sure that, you know, you're planning your 6 months out, you know, essentially to getting your Medicaid.
Oh gosh, these are just hours worth of information, right? So
Absolutely.
Once we get out of this pandemic, we're going to have to, you know, set up some kind of a public forum where I can get you guys in with us so that we can talk to the public a little bit more and give them a little bit more information. But thank you so much for your time today. This is so important. I'm hoping to get this out so that people have questions. I'll get Dennis Szafran's number up there. Of course, people can call us. The number's right behind me. And on my Facebook page. That's what we're here to do. We're all here to help each other out. We partner together. So if you have questions, give one of us a call, please. Thank you guys for being here today.
Thank you so much for having us.
You're so welcome. And everybody have a wonderful day.